Hello and welcome all of you to the Commando. Today we are going to meet an organization which do fundamental work in the brightening the lives of sex workers, their children, as well as the patients who are HIV/AIDS positive. This organization serves more than 20,000 beneficiaries till now and do a illustrative work in the field. So today we are going to meet Snehalay. So I welcome Dr. Preeti to the YouTube to our channel and let's start our discussion with the analysis that what are the problems of sex workers and how Snehalay works till now to resolve them.
Okay, thank you, Pradyumna, for having me on your YouTube channel. So, just as you said, Snehalaya primarily works for the victims of flesh trade, which common people may call sex workers, and of course, their children. Uh, our founder, Dr. Girish Kulkarni, started this organization in 1989 with just two children from the red light areas. And at the moment, we have around 250 plus children in our shelter homes. Problems of sex workers. So when Girish, I'll just tell you a brief history of the organization first.
Yes,
Girish sir, when he was young and studying in school, he would take a shortcut to his classes,
yes,
and that was through the red light area where he found many girls of his age actually selling themselves for a very low, very small amount. And not only the children, but not only these minor girls, but their moms also were doing the same thing. So he would wonder why these girls who should be in schools are doing something else. And then he started exploring this problem, and he came to know that these are the victims of flesh trade who do not have a say in the society at all. They are the most marginalized people in the community, and something has to be done for them. That's what he started feeling about it. But since he was very small, he actually didn't attempt anything. But when he happened to go in the same area when he was in college, he came to know that not only one generation, but as far as three or four generations were actually engaged in such type of flesh trade. And that was a very harrowing thing for him. And he said that if he has to do something, he has to start doing it now. But he didn't know where to start, so he just started talking with these people in the red light areas. And initially the women were not very interested in talking to him, they didn't believe in him. But gradually he got them to talk about their lives, about their problems. And at that time they told him that now our life is over, you can't do anything for us, but then you can surely do something for our children. If you remove them from this atmosphere, from this area, maybe they can become something else than what we are today. And that is how Snehalaya started. First it was just for some hours he used to take these children out, but then he realized that again when they go to that red light area, same thing occurs. And they are again drawn to addictions, they are again drawn to bringing cigarettes and liquor for the people who come there. And just removing them from that atmosphere for 3 or 4 hours is not going to work. And that's how the idea of shelter home came up. Then he needed to work with the victims of flesh trade because HIV was slowly crawling inside India, and sex workers were the first people who actually got affected by it. The problem at that time was not only were they affected by it, but once a sex worker was affected by HIV positive, or became HIV positive, or affected by AIDS, she was not given any treatment, she was not given any help, and she was just thrown out of the brothels. And that was something which really made him think that something else has to be done for these sex workers. And then he started a makeshift hospital in that shelter home, where these women would come, they were given palliative treatment. Surprisingly, only one doctor came forward to actually help him and train his friends and him to work for these people who were living with HIV AIDS. And then he started the Death with Dignity program. When these women would die, he used to give them a proper last rites, and uh, they were treated as human beings by him first time. And then one project led to another, and that's how Snehalaya is now having 22 projects. So as far as sex workers are concerned, we primarily work for their health, but besides health there are so many problems which they face. They still do, many of them still don't have identities in the society. Many of them are addicted. Many of them have taken loans from the local sahukars, and they keep on repaying it. There is a lot of illiteracy amongst them. So these problems are still persistent. We are working on them, but at least we have succeeded in stopping the second generation from being drawn in this work. The second generation of girls are not in this work anymore. They are taking education, they are moving ahead. Then we have stopped minor prostitution. So in Ahmednagar district, you won't find any brothel with girls below 18 years. No minors are there in prostitution in Ahmednagar district. Other than that, there are lot of, just as I said, there are lot of addictions which these women have. Due to illiteracy, they don't know how much they are repaying back, what kind of loans they are repaying back. Most of the money which they get, they have to give to the brothel owners, they have to give to the pimps, and very less money is what they get. Then they have regular partners. The regular partners also ask for money from them. So still the problems are huge. Many of these sex workers are now leaving the profession and starting to find alternatives for a proper living. Some of them have started their own small businesses like bangle stores, vegetable. Then they sell vegetables. Some of them work in hospitals as maushis. Then some of them work in hotels or mess where they do this, where they make food. While some of them are working on our Himmat Gram project, which is an organic farm. They stay there, they learn farming, they learn dairy, and then they work there. So these are some alternatives which we give them. But still, what we feel is sex work and the LGBT community face thousands of problem as yet, and this is mainly due to a lot of illiteracy and not aware of their rights, no identity. And then we are still working on it. Yeah.
Okay. Ma'am, you said that many of the women are addicted to drugs and other smoking things. How did you
Yeah.
try to
Yeah.
rehabilitate them? What are the projects you taken to rehabilitate them?
Yeah, so presently we have about 8 main centers in Ahmednagar district where we primarily work on their health. Then there are STI clinics which are screening these women for sexually transmitted diseases, HIV/AIDS. We have awareness programs for these women which address their problems of addictions. Then we take hygiene programs, awareness hygiene programs, which tells the importance of personal hygiene, menstrual hygiene, and of course, some of them who have a very bad problem of addiction to maybe alcohol and all, they are helped by admitting them in de-addiction centers. And then of course the women who have left this profession and they are finding some other alternatives, once they are removed from that particular atmosphere, then it is easy for us to work with them on these problems. But if they are staying there and still we need to work, it becomes a challenge. Then there is one more important thing which we have introduced, and that is peer educators. So, peer educators are the sex workers who are one amongst them, but have left sex work, have stopped addictions, and they are the ones who motivate other sex workers to do the same thing. So, it is a very simple thought process. See, in a group of friends, if one friend tells another friend to do something, it appeals better. In the same way, these peer educators appeal to the other sex workers to leave addictions, to leave the profession, find alternatives of livelihoods, and that helps us to actually connect with them. Otherwise it would have been very difficult for us to talk to them also. But since these peer educators are there, we can help them understand things easily as compared to what we go and tell. Because many times it happens whether that a third person comes and tells it, it is like preaching to them. But when a friend tells them, it is much easier to connect with them. Yeah.
Okay. Ma'am, recently Supreme Court had told that LGBTQ community can marry to what they want. Did they need a legal procedure for it in India?
uh, we have not been approached about actually LGBTQ people marrying each other, but yeah, they were very happy with the decision. The problem with a district like Ahmednagar, which is not attached directly to a metro or something, is that people usually don't come out. So it is very difficult to understand who are MSMs, who are lesbians, and then actually they coming out and getting married is a very far fetched thing at the moment. But yeah, we always try to whatever whoever are registered with us, so we always try to tell them about hygiene, about using condoms, about getting checked on and off for sexually transmitted diseases. And that is how they remain connected with us and actually open up. If someone wants to come out and tell that they are MSMs or lesbians, then we can help them in that also. But till date, no one has approached us directly for getting married or something. Yeah, but they were very happy with the decision.
Oh. Ma'am, India is the country of youngsters, and what according to you is the uh, education policy, especially for sex education, uh, will be continue in India?
See, the lot a lot has to be done in this area because uh, no one wants to speak about sex in the families as well as in the schools. It is a big taboo as yet. If we look at some very special schools or very schools with very particular curriculum, only they have introduced something called sex education. There also, I think they lack people who actually can come and talk about it. If we go to normal government schools, in a year there are about one or two lectures by some people coming from outside talking about it and then going away. A lot of questions remain unanswered, and then children try to find out in other ways. So I think sex education should be at two levels. One level is at home, because all new education should start from home. That's what I feel. And the second education is, of course, school. There should be a concrete curriculum. You may include it in science. If you don't want yourself to get embarrassed by it, you can include it in science, a part of science, maybe some chapters dedicated to sex education, if you don't want to have a separate curriculum for that. Or you can also include it in as a separate subject. Dedicate a teacher who can really talk about it with the boys and girls. They have a lot of questions in their minds. They have a lot of questions regarding their development, their menses, how eggs are made, how sperms are made, what is it, how the body structure changes. So there are n number of questions which remain unanswered throughout their school days, and then they try to explore it in college, and then something else, some bad things, some worse things happen.
Yes.
So yeah, sex education is in a very nascent stage, I will say, in India, and it should really step up. It is really time to step up with this sex education, and that will help boys and girls and children to understand their gender, how it develops, the science behind it, the psychology behind it. And of course it's a very vast subject and very little has been done about it.
Okay. Ma'am, your Childline service is the most famous service in the entire India. How can you explain that
Yeah.
service?
Actually, there are two important things which started from Childline Ahmednagar. The first thing is night rounds. Before that, Childlines never did night round. They found that the children are the most vulnerable when they are found on bus stations, railway stations. They are trying to run away from their house for some petty quarrels. They want to go home, but they are lost. That is the time when actually they may be roped in sex work, or they may be kidnapped. Or so night rounds are really important. So we started these night rounds about twice a week, and we visit all the public places where it is very likely to find these kids. And when these kids are found and they are brought to childline, many a times they realize that that was a big mistake which they made. They shouldn't have left their house in the first place. And then we can help them to get back to their parents. We have to do a lot of counseling with them, with the parents, and then they can go home. So night rounds were the first thing which was introduced by Childline Ahmednagar, which helped a lot. We still continue doing night rounds. We go to slum areas, we go to public places, we go to religious places. So these are the likely places where we can find kids who runaway kids, or who may be lured somewhere by pimps, or by people who really want to misuse them. So yeah, night rounds are the first thing. And second thing, our helpline is very active. It is a 24 by 7 helpline. 1098 is the free toll free number. And not only the children, but anyone who finds a suspected child in a place can actually call us, and we can go there and help the child. We get calls from many volunteers. We have a network of volunteers all over Ahmednagar district, who are ready to help these children who are in distress. That may be distress may be of any type. They may be undergoing child marriage, they may be doing child labor, they may be kidnapped, then there may be rape cases. So any type of child needing any type of help can be helped through this child line. The network really helps. Then there is a child line, say Dosti Week, which is around Children's Day, November. And at this time there are puppet shows, awareness campaigns at various places. And there we have some kids who actually become our volunteers. And they are the ones, just as a peer educator model works for the sex workers, in the same way peer educator model works for the child line also. So this is how our child line works a bit differently from the other child lines. Another important thing is, this after the pandemic, child marriages were on a rise, and we have stopped around 86 child marriages in the district itself since last 2 months, just 2 months. Before that also there were many, but these are the numbers for just 2 months. We have started a new program called Udan, which is actually working with the CWC, and this is specifically to stop child marriages. And we aim to reduce these child marriages to 0% by the next year through this program. So, and not only will we stop child marriages, but whoever are the victims of child marriages, especially the girls, they will be also given other facilities like rehabilitation, opportunities to education, so that the program is complete. Because once we stop the child marriages, the girl becomes very vulnerable to other things, and then we have to give a helping hand to her. So we just can't leave her alone. So this is a complete program, Udan, and we are trying to stop child marriages, and we aim to make it at least, reduce it maximum. Our aim is 0%, but we at least should reduce it as much as we can till the next year.
Ma'am, Ahmednagar district, along with some districts of Marathwada, also facing the problem of children of sugarcane cutters who are out of their
Yes,
home
yes.
for nearly 6 months, and they don't have
Right.
any education in that period. So, will
Yeah.
Snehalaya want to work for them, or what should be the projects, or what should be the way forward? Someone want to do it.
Okay, okay, yeah, I got your question. The thing is, Nehalaya doesn't decide to do everything on its own, isn't it? We can't reach everywhere. So in such cases, what we do is, we have a program called Yuva Nirman. So Yuva Nirman is a project which encourages youth who want to do some type of social work in their areas. So instead of Snehalaya reaching many places, we encourage these youth to start working in their pockets and address the social issues in their areas. So what happens is we give a hand holding, we give the training, we help them whenever they need, but they work. Actually, they are the people who work on the ground, the grassroots. So till date, around 21 such youth have started working at various places. So one of our such youth is Sachin Khedkar. Sachin Khedkar has a foundation called the Utsal Foundation, which addresses the problems of the sugarcane workers and their kids, basically their kids. And so he has now started a construction of a hostel where he will be giving a shelter to these children, and also plans to do something about their education and give a secure and safe place to stay. So his work is in progress. Presently he has around 20 children, but of course they will go on increasing. So his aim is basically to help these children of sugarcane workers, these vulnerable children, whenever their parents are away, to help them, to give a safe shelter for them, and also look after their education. So that is how Sachin Khedkar is working. Then also there is a foundation called Sneha Prem, which works on similar lines. And also in that area where the sugarcane workers, it is just on the border of the Beed district, and of course there also there are children of sugarcane workers. Then there is another person called Ananta Jhende who has a hostel in Srigonda. So these children are from the Fase Pardi community. If you know, the Fase Pardi community is a tribe. It is a tribal community, and it is, I mean, not necessary, but it is stamped to be a tribe who does thefts, and
Yeah.
and many of them have never gone to school. So he works with 150 such kids at the moment, all from the Fase Pardi community and the tribal belt, and he provides shelter to them, puts them in schools, and some of these children are the first generation actually going to school. Their parents, grandparents have never seen, they don't know what school is. So that is how many of our students, ex students, or people who attend Yuva Nirman camps, they have started working in their own pockets and addressing the local issues there.
Okay. Ma'am, last question. If someone want to donate to you or want to
Yeah,
connect with you, how he should connect?
yeah. So if you want to connect to us, you can write to info@snehalaya.org. That is our official email ID. You can also visit our website www.snehalaya.org, where you will also find donate options. There you will also find bank details. If you want to directly donate in the bank, you can do so. Or there is options like PayPal, PayU. PayPal is for donations outside India. PayU is for donations within India. And in case of any other way in which you want to help, you want to volunteer for us, or you want to do your internships here, or any of that sort, or you want to find new ways of doing social work, addressing social issues in your community, you can surely contact us. You can email to us or write to us, and of course call us whenever you need. And besides that, you can also visit Snehalaya. Now there are some restrictions due to COVID, but once this COVID pandemic is over, you can plan a visit to Snehalaya. You can write to us, and then we can arrange a visit to all our projects.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am, to connect with us. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and thank you, Pradyumna, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so thank you, Pradyumna, for a nice interview. Very nice questions, very thought about questions, and we hope to remain connected with you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.